Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And maybe just for the record, the nominee is my former governor in Kiambu. And we served at the same time when he was governor, and I was a first-time member of parliament. CS nominee, you have indicated that you are the party leader of Tujibebe in your documents. Tujibebe or Kenya leader as a party leader. I don't know whether you have resigned or you intend to resign. If approved, whether you would resign. Two, in relation to the question that the Deputy Speaker has asked on AI. This is a question from a Kenyan living in Finland who tells me he recently, and he also comes from Kiambu, he recently read an article in one of the newspapers in Helsinki on the working conditions that are described as equivalent to modern slave labor, where American big tech companies are using young Kenyans, especially to do what is described as harmful, removing what is described as harmful content or crude content on Facebook, on TikTok, Instagram, on largely main social media platforms. I say that they ensure that they review Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram to ensure that these important platforms are not filled with hate speech or incitement to violence. We watch murders, executions, child sexual abuse, and rape, often for more than 8 hours a day. And we are paid less than $2 an hour for it. The workers described it as part of the excerpt from that article. And therefore, would want to hear what you would intend to do as Cabinet Secretary now in charge of ICT. One, to protect these young Kenyans from being exploited by the big tech companies working on AI from the US and other developed countries. And two, to also protect these young Kenyans from the harmful effects of the content that they watch, that they have to go through as they work. And you know, mental health is indeed a big issue and has been rated as one of the big issues, especially with those working in the tech space in the country. And probably part of it is out of this engagement with content that they are finding online as they work. What would you do to protect them? Lastly, on revenue assurance, calls dropping, Kenyans telcos continue to work with, we all work with phone companies or telcos that call drops are very frequent, and nobody ever compensates Kenyans for the call drops. What you would intend to do, plus, because that is a situation where these telcos are stealing from Kenyans as we make calls. But the same telcos also steal from government in terms of revenue, because we have a system where KRA cannot tell how much airtime you have used, because it's a self-reporting system with the telcos. What revenue assurance systems would you put in place, probably from CA, Communications Authority, to ensure that CA has a view of the amount of data, the amount of airtime that Safaricom and all the other telcos are selling to Kenyans, because there is theft both ways, from Kenyans and also from the revenue authorities.
Party leader, Mheshimiwa Ichungwa, is talking about working conditions and big tech companies. Like I said before, Mr. Speaker, it is the use of regulatory frameworks and legislative work that can help us deal with these big tech issues. And the way they take advantage of especially African countries in terms of call drops. I have been a victim of very many call drops by Safaricom itself. And the minute you call them and ask why is this happening, they say it is technology, it is these days, you know, frequencies, all these stories. As Minister for ICT, if I'm confirmed, Mr. Speaker, this will become a thing of the past. We should be able to ask CA to be able to get call logs and determine how much call drops each caller has and what the company needs to do to compensate drop times. On the issue of hate speech and harmful content, again, this is a matter of every country having its own regulations. It is true if you look at TikTok, you look at Facebook and X, you will find all sorts of pornography, actually even available to children. This is a situation where our regulators should be able to engage these providers or the owners of these apps, Facebook, TikTok and others, to know how they can be regulated.
Nominee, it is not about the regulator. If you are approved, you'll be the minister providing policy direction.
Exactly,
That's
Mr.
what
Speaker.
Ichungwa wants
So
to
my
know.
first directive to CA is to be able to get to know how this can be regulated. And we have technical people who have experience, Mr. Speaker, on how these things can be done. I should be able to sit with them on the first or second day of my term in office to make sure that there is a direct and clear way of dealing with these problems. So, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of exploitation, I have addressed that. Perfect and harmful content, again, it is a matter of great concern how much bad content is available on these platforms, and it is worldwide. We have seen situations where other countries have stopped certain platforms in operating, like for example, the discussion now in the US, where TikTok is supposed to be banned from using the American airspace. I should be able to get to the bottom of these things and see that the Kenyan content is good for consumption for underage and also other users. If I go to, I'm not sure whether I got the third question from...
he asked if you are still chairman of Tujibebe party.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am not a chairman of Jibebe now. The minute I was nominated by the president, I resigned the following day. And I think a copy of that is in the bundle of documents that I have given.
CS, my question on the big tech companies is how they're exploiting, and in fact, that article spoke of the work that is usually done by students, housewives, and groups of people who are in a weak position. So what I wanted to hear from you is what policy proposals would you be having to ensure, one, that the big tech companies first conform to our labor laws. Two, they are not exploiting these people because they're in a weak position. Because what they are doing is taking advantage of our students because they can be paid $2. $2 translates to about 300 shillings an hour. But in the US, nobody will be paid $2 for whatever mundane task you are given. So I'd want to hear what policy proposals you'd bring into the ministry to ensure that we enforce our labor laws with the big tech companies, as much as we're in a third world and developing country, but also big tech companies are not taking advantage of our resource, because these young people who are tech savvy are a resource to this country and to the world, and therefore they ought to be compensated properly. That's the bit CS, I think you did get the question.
He's a CS nominee. He's not
CS
a
nominee.
CS.
Yes, it's a good prayer, Mr. Speaker. You will realize, Mheshimiwa Ichungwa, that it's not only affecting Kenyans on outside jobs. Even the local content creators, like in music, that put their stuff on YouTube, they rarely get value for their content. So I should be able to bring into Parliament a bill that should be able to regulate how much money content creators are paid, just like the coffee industry. There are brokers in this business of digital economy who take advantage. You'll be surprised that probably a job like that is paid for $200 and only $20 or $10 that get to this. So we should be able to do that through some regulation and some law. And knowing how vibrant our young people are, they would be happy, especially the Gen Zs. We can redirect their energy into using that energy productively to make money in the digital economy. So I should be at the forefront in terms of bringing laws or amendments to our laws so that our labor laws are applicable. But again, challenges of enforcement is something we would need to worry about how to enforce, because the employing agency is an American agency, is a British agency. How do we apply it online here? So, and those are things that the technical people in the ministry should be able to advise.
Posing.